Hi everyone, welcome to another installment of my weekly bonsai show on YouTube. This week we're not going to do much work on a bonsai. Instead, I'm going to tell a story about a bonsai and also give a little tutorial on branch placement, and maybe we'll do just a little bit of cleanup pruning in the process. This tree that you see sitting next to me is a San Jose juniper, and it's a very old one. It was originally created probably sometime in the 1970s by a Japanese bonsai man, someone who had a bit of a local reputation, owned a nursery in Southern California. And then it was placed in the care of an older fellow who was a member of my bonsai club. And then after the tree's former owner passed on, I ended up acquiring it from the club. Not so much because I coveted the tree, but because the former owner was someone who I was quite fond of and liked an awful lot, and I wanted something to remember him by. Now, all great bonsais have names, and this tree's former owner's name was Fred, so I decided to name the tree after him, so this tree's name is Fred. So let's have a look at Fred the bonsai and see what we can learn. Now, every bonsai has a first branch, and that's the first branch arising from ground level. And when you shape your own bonsai, the very first thing you should do, once you establish trunk inclination, basic trunk shape, and how it's going to be planted in the pot, you should choose the first branch. And in this case, the first branch is this one over here, which projects to the viewer's left. The next branch the Japanese call the counterbalancing branch, or the second branch, and that's this one here. The other concept I'd like to teach today is the concept of the sashi eta. That's the Japanese term for the branch that defines the movement of the tree. Sometimes, but not always, that's the tree's first branch. In this case, the second branch is the sashi eta, and the reason it is because if you were to remove the first branch, you would still have a pretty decent looking bonsai, but if you remove the second branch, you're going to have serious problems creating a bonsai from this. Moving on upward, the next branch we have is the back branch, which projects from the back of the tree, at least in terms of visual elevation, and then we'll get to this other branch in front in a moment. Back branches are very important on a bonsai because they give the tree its three-dimensional appearance and they give it visual perspective and depth. Now let's go back to the front and talk about the third branch, which is kind of an unusual and interesting branch. This tree is really striking and unusual in that it violates some rules of bonsai, one of the basic rules being you don't take a branch off the inside of a curve in the trunk. They call that a pocket branch. Here, the initial designer very cleverly took this branch and projected it forward as well as to the side and gave it a very interesting position with respect to the shaping of the tree. The other interesting thing the designer did was there were two what we call bar branches, branches originating from the same height of the trunk. And the way those are dealt with is one is dropped down to a lower level and the other one is set at a somewhat higher level. So the branching on the tree goes first branch, second branch, front branch sort of, back branch. Then we have third and fourth branches with their elevation staggered. Then we have another front branch up in here, which is very important to the tree, or so one of my current Japanese bonsai instructors tell me, and I certainly agree with them. Then we have a couple more branches projecting to the left and right, another branch, and the apex. This particular tree, when I acquired it, it did not have a clearly defined apex, and the branches at the top were in the wrong position. And I actually grew this apex over the past 2 years or so in order to reestablish the tree's appearance. It had suffered from quite a bit of neglect during the previous owner's later years and needed some work to be brought back. So now what we're going to do is just do a little bit of cleanup pruning and then give you a little extended look at the tree. and then we'll finish out today's video. So we're just working on the back branch right now and sort of taking out any straggly foliage. We've done this before. I've done other videos pruning San Jose junipers, and we're following the same techniques as usual. This one is pretty easy because I just showed it last June and it was already at a very high level in terms of its appearance. So what we're doing is just taking off a little bit of straggly growth since then. For example, we have some growth here that's intruded into what should be a negative space on the tree, and in just a minute I'm going to come around and prune that out. And I think that may be actually a very good concept to close this tutorial on, is negative space, because in a bonsai you don't want to just put branches into particular positions. You also want to arrange the branch disposition so that the branches enclose space in a visually pleasing manner. Okay, we're just going to prune just a little bit more off of here. Just a little bit of summer's growth that got a little straggly. And I think that about does it. So let's circle the tree very slowly and take a look at it. And there you have it, a beautiful bonsai named Fred. Thank you very much for watching, folks.